The question of hidden unity begins not as an argument, but as a quiet stirring in the heart, a sense that the world's countless shapes and stories are the surface of a deeper reality. Across deserts, seas, and cities, people speak of faith as though it were a collection of customs, a badge of belonging, or a code of law. Yet behind every name and ritual there lies an older truth, a current that moves through all things without ever being captured. To utter the word Islam is to touch the edge of that current. Though most imagine only a particular culture or history, the mystery is far wider. It is the living pulse that animates earth and sky, the breath that gives form to every creature, the silent command for all beings to return to the source from which they came. Look closely at the patterns of existence, and a subtle harmony emerges. Stars revolve in perfect measure. Seasons follow their unbroken dance. The smallest seed unfolds with an intelligence that no book can contain. These are not random motions. They are signs of an indivisible oneness. The human heart, restless and curious, senses this even when the mind is distracted by the noise of daily life. Every act of wonder, whether at a sunset, a newborn's cry, or the stillness before dawn, is a momentary recognition of the hidden unity that sustains everything. To perceive this unity requires no rejection of diversity. The world is filled with countless languages, beliefs, and ways of life, each like a unique color refracting a single light. Difference is not a barrier but a revelation. The vast mosaic of creation is an endless testimony to the boundless source that expresses itself in infinite forms. When one begins to see with the eye of the heart, the conflicts of creed and culture lose their power. What once appeared as division is understood as a play of reflections upon one unbroken mirror. Submission in this sense is not the loss of freedom, but the discovery of true freedom. It is the recognition that the self does not stand apart from the whole, but lives within it. As a wave belongs to the ocean, the wave rises and falls, believing itself independent. Yet it is never separate from the sea that gives it life. So it is with the soul, which imagines autonomy while being sustained at every instant by the infinite presence. To yield to this reality is not to be diminished. It is to awaken to one's deepest nature. Throughout history, prophets and sages have called humanity to this recognition. Their words differ, their customs vary, but their message is a single chord struck upon the instrument of time. They remind us that the ultimate truth cannot be confined to one era or one people. It speaks through every heart willing to listen, through every moment of stillness when the noise of the self subsides and the eternal can be heard. The mystery of Islam, in its most profound sense, is not a doctrine to be memorized but a reality to be encountered. A hidden unity that waits quietly beneath the surface of all things, inviting the seeker to remember what was never truly forgotten. The ocean is the oldest teacher, carrying in its endless motion a secret that words can only approach. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast shore as dawn gathers, the tide breathing in and out with a rhythm older than the continents themselves. Each wave rises with its own shape, curling, foaming, breaking into spray, and then sinking back into the deep. For a heartbeat it appears separate, a distinct crest of water that can be named and pointed to. Yet its very being is nothing other than the sea. This is the first lesson of true submission, the quiet recognition that all apparent individuality is the movement of a single boundless reality. The human soul is like that wave. From the moment of birth, it feels itself to be a unique entity, defined by memories, desires, and fleeting thoughts. It believes it travels alone, making choices and carving a private path across the surface of time. But the hidden truth is that every heartbeat, every breath, every spark of thought is sustained by the same eternal source. The sense of separateness is a delicate illusion, as temporary as the spray on a cresting wave. To awaken to this is not to lose oneself, but to know oneself fully. For the wave that knows it is the sea has discovered its real name. Consider how even the smallest elements of existence testify to this oneness. The moon draws the tides with invisible fingers. The winds carry moisture across oceans. The rain nourishes the earth, and rivers return their waters to the waiting deep. Nothing is isolated. Everything is a gesture of the whole. The submission at the heart of Islam mirrors this cosmic dance. It is not an act of forced obedience, but a natural harmony, the way the tide yields to the pull of the moon, or the way a seed opens to the warmth of the sun. Such yielding is not weakness. It is the strength of alignment with the truth that sustains all worlds. When the heart begins to sense this reality, the meaning of worship changes. Prayer is no longer a ritual performed at a distance from the divine. It becomes the ocean breathing through the wave. The remembrance of the source is the very life of the soul, as intrinsic as the salt within the sea. Each word uttered in devotion is like the hiss of foam dissolving back into water, a small sound of joy at being home. In these moments, the boundary between servant and master fades, for there is only the endless movement of the One revealing itself in countless forms. This understanding does not erase the self as a shadow might be erased by light. Instead, it reveals the self's true dimension. Just as a wave can be admired for its curve and brilliance while still being nothing but ocean, the individual can live fully, love deeply, and act with purpose while knowing that all action is the play of the eternal. Freedom is found here, in the surrender that is also fulfillment. The mystery lies not in escaping the world, but in recognizing the world as the living surface of the infinite deep. To dwell in this awareness is to feel the silent music that underlies all things. The rush of wind becomes a verse of praise, the crash of surf a declaration of unity, the quiet of the night a boundless prayer. The seeker who listens with the ear of the heart will hear this music everywhere, in the laughter of children, in the stillness of mountains, in the pulse of their own blood. And when that music is heard, the question of separation dissolves like foam in the tide, leaving only the vast and shining truth that there is no edge to the sea, no end to the One who moves within and beyond every wave. The world appears as a vast tapestry of differences, a living mosaic where every hue and pattern seems to proclaim its own uniqueness. Languages shape thought in countless ways. Customs arise from distant histories, and landscapes stretch from ice-bound peaks to burning deserts. At first glance, this multitude feels like separation, as though each culture, each creature stands apart in lonely isolation. Yet when the heart grows quiet, a subtler vision emerges. Every variation is a brushstroke of the same unseen painter, every sound an echo of a single word spoken before time began. Diversity is not a barrier to unity. It is the revelation of unity's infinite creativity. Consider the play of light through a crystal. One sunbeam enters, yet the facets scatter it into a spectrum of colors, each vivid and distinct. No color competes with another. For each is the sun in a different key. Humanity is much the same. The many faiths and philosophies, the endless forms of art and song, are rays refracted through the prism of existence. When viewed only with the eyes of reason, these differences provoke rivalry and pride. But to the heart attuned to the deeper source, every culture's music, every language prayer, is a note in the same cosmic harmony. Mountains and valleys offer the same teaching. The mountain stands firm and high, the valley lies gentle and low, yet both shape the flow of rivers, both shelter life, both are the earth. Their contrast gives beauty to the land and balance to the seasons. Likewise, the contrasts among peoples and traditions are not signs of conflict, but of balance. The infinite delights in multiplicity. For without difference, there could be no recognition, no unfolding of meaning. The seeker who grasps this no longer asks which path alone is true, but instead beholds truth shimmering through every path, like water through a network of streams. Even within a single human life, the lesson repeats: joy and sorrow, strength and vulnerability, knowledge and mystery, all are necessary to reveal the fullness of being. To deny any part of this spectrum is to deny the wholeness from which it springs. The call of Islam in its hidden essence is to witness this wholeness without fear. It invites the soul to see every face as a reflection of the One, every language as a dialect of the eternal, every difference is a sign of the inexhaustible source. Such vision does not erase individuality. It ennobles it, for each person becomes a unique doorway through which the infinite enters the world. When this understanding awakens, the quarrels of creed lose their sharpness. One may cherish the customs of an ancestor and still bow in respect to the customs of another. One may pray in a familiar tongue yet hear the sacred rhythm in foreign syllables. In the marketplace, in the quiet of the forest, in the music of distant cultures, the same presence can be felt, vast and tender. Diversity then becomes a celebration rather than a contest, a living proof that the single light is inexhaustible and forever renewing itself. To live with this awareness is to move through the world as a guest in a magnificent house, where every room holds a different fragrance, every corridor opens to a new view of the same garden. The traveler does not cling to one doorway but wanders freely, delighting in the endless expressions of a single generosity. In such wandering, the heart learns that the One is not diminished by many forms, and that the many forms are nothing less than the One delighting in its own endless reflection. Across the long corridors of history, voices have risen from deserts, mountains, forests, and crowded cities, each bearing a message that seems at once familiar and yet entirely new. These are the prophets and sages, wanderers and healers, those who carried a flame that no empire could extinguish. Their tongues differed, their garments reflected the soil of their lands, their customs bore the scent of their own age, yet the essence of their call was always the same. They spoke of a reality beyond the fragile walls of tribe and nation, a unity that holds all worlds within a single embrace. What divides them is only the surface of language. What unites them is the eternal source that breathes through every revelation. Imagine the procession of these messengers as a river flowing through time, from the earliest dawn of memory. The current winds through valleys of myth and peaks of history, carrying wisdom like precious silt. Each prophet dips a vessel into the river and offers it to a thirsty generation, shaping the water to the cup their people can hold. Some speak in the poetry of the steppe, some in the chants of the forest, some in the parables of bustling markets. Yet the water remains the same, a single truth, cool and life-giving, untouched by the vessel's design. To drink is to remember the source that never dries. Their lives themselves are signs. Many walked in poverty, some in kingship, some in exile, some in the quiet of contemplation. They healed the sick, comforted the forgotten, and defied the idols of their time. Idols of stone, idols of wealth, idols of the self. Their courage did not arise from worldly power, but from a certainty that the infinite stands with the humble. The echo of that certainty moves through every sacred story, urging listeners to awaken from the sleep of separation and return to the embrace of the One. In their presence, the boundaries of culture and century blur. They belong to all who are willing to listen. Yet the world has often misunderstood them. Followers build monuments of stone and systems of law, forgetting the living flame for which the prophet risked everything. Names become banners of rivalry, and the single melody fractures into competing songs. Still the message endures, hidden like a pearl in the depths. Those who seek with sincerity can hear it even through the noise of centuries. It whispers that no messenger ever claimed a private truth, that every revelation is a mirror reflecting the same infinite light. The seeker who contemplates this lineage begins to see history itself as a dialogue between the eternal and the temporal. Each age receives the guidance it can bear. Each language frames the ineffable in sounds the heart can recognize. When the veil of difference lifts, the prophets stand side by side across time, their voices forming a single chorus. They do not cancel one another. They complete one another. Their stories are not competing claims but variations on a single theme, the invitation to remember the unity beneath all appearances. To honor them is not merely to repeat their words but to embody their vision. It is to let the heart keep them a dwelling for the same light that moved through their lives. When a person acts with justice, speaks with compassion, and walks in humble awareness of the infinite, the ancient river flows through them as well. In this way, the prophetic tradition is not locked in the past. It is a living current, a melody still playing, waiting for every listener to join. Whoever drinks from this river, whoever listens for this melody, discovers that the mystery they sought was already flowing in their own breath, unbroken, eternal, and ever new. The journey inward begins with a silence deeper than the absence of sound. It is the silence that waits beneath thought, beneath memory, beneath the restless turning of desire. In this quiet, the heart becomes like a clear pool, reflecting the light of a reality that cannot be captured by argument or symbol. Books may guide, teachers may point the way, but the recognition itself must awaken within. This is the awakening of the heart, the place where the mystery of divine unity moves from idea to living presence. No doctrine can force it open. It blossoms when the seeker surrenders the need to control and allows the infinite to reveal itself. At first, the mind resists. It prefers to catalog, to compare, to construct neat systems of belief. Yet every system is a cage of words, and the truth cannot be confined. The awakening begins when the seeker realizes that understanding is not the same as knowing. To understand is to hold a concept. To know is to be transformed. The difference is like reading about fire versus feeling its warmth. When the heart begins to sense the nearness of the source, the old boundaries of self and other, sacred and ordinary, start to dissolve. The air itself feels alive, and each breath is a quiet prayer. This inner recognition is not a retreat from the world, but a deeper entry into it. Trees, rivers, and even the smallest stones appear radiant with meaning. A single drop of rain becomes a revelation, a mirror of the endless generosity that sustains existence. Ordinary acts, sharing a meal, offering a kind word, pausing to watch the sky, are discovered as moments of communion. The heart no longer seeks the divine in distant heavens. It finds the divine shimmering within every instant of lived reality. In this way, awakening transforms daily life into a sanctuary without walls. Remembrance becomes the natural language of the awakened heart. Words of praise may pass through the lips, but the true remembrance is continuous and wordless, a rhythm woven into every heartbeat. It is the awareness that nothing exists apart from the one who is nearer than the pulse. This remembrance is not a duty to be checked, but a joy that overflows. It brings a sweetness that no possession can match, a quiet strength that endures through trial and change. Even sorrow becomes a doorway, for the heart learns to recognize love in every circumstance. The seeker who lives in this state does not withdraw from responsibility. Instead, compassion deepens, for the boundary between self and other has grown thin. Another's pain is felt as one's own, and service becomes a natural response. Acts of justice, charity, and gentle speech arise, not from obligation but from the simple recognition that there is no true separation. Every encounter is a meeting with the One in a different form, every stranger a hidden friend. Such awakening cannot be hurried or forced. It unfolds like dawn, gradual and inevitable, once the night has run its course. One day the seeker realizes that the search itself was guided all along, that the call of the infinite was the quiet companion in every step. In that realization, the heart rests, not in complacency but in a living awareness that every breath, every heartbeat, every passing cloud is a sign of the unbroken presence. The journey inward has no final destination, for the source is endless, yet each moment of awakening is complete in itself, a meeting without beginning or end. To live the mystery is to let the boundaries of ordinary perception soften until every moment shines with the nearness of the infinite. It is not an escape from the world but a deeper participation in it. A recognition that the fabric of daily life is woven from the same light that ignites the stars. The heart that has tasted awakening moves through city streets and quiet forests with the same reverence, for each place reveals the hidden presence in a different tone. The marketplace hum, the laughter of children, the hush of dawn, all become verses of an endless scripture written across the face of existence. In this way, remembrance becomes as natural as breathing. It is not confined to the rhythm of formal prayer, though such prayer remains a beloved path. It continues in the silent intervals between words, in the steady beating of the heart, in the simple act of being alive. Every breath is a return, every inhalation a drawing in of the eternal, every exhalation an offering back to the source. The seeker no longer divides the sacred from the mundane, for the sacred is discovered as the ground of all things, the subtle pulse that holds every instant together. Compassion flows effortlessly from this awareness. When the sense of separation dissolves, the suffering of others is felt as one's own, and kindness ceases to be an obligation. Helping the hungry, comforting the fearful, speaking with gentleness, these become as instinctive as the body's need for air. Justice, too, becomes an inner imperative, for the awakened heart cannot bear to see the image of the One diminished in any creature. Every encounter becomes an opportunity to honor the infinite reflected in finite form. Such living does not deny the reality of hardship. Pain, loss, and uncertainty still arrive, but they no longer appear as random cruelties. They are understood as part of the same vast design, the ebb and flow of the ocean from which all waves arise. The heart learns to meet joy without clinging and sorrow without despair, seeing both as movements of a single sea. Even death loses its terror, for the life that animates the body is known to be unbroken and beyond decay. This realization brings a quiet freedom, freed from the need to grasp or possess. The seeker moves lightly through the world, grateful for every gift yet bound to none. Wealth and poverty, praise and blame, success and failure lose their power to define. What remains is a steady contentment, a luminous stillness that neither rises nor falls with fortune. The soul stands in the world as a clear window, allowing the light of the One to pass through without obstruction. To dwell in such a state is to witness creation as a ceaseless act of love. The rustle of leaves becomes a hymn, the flight of birds a proclamation, the silence of night a boundless prayer. The awakened heart joins this cosmic liturgy without effort, for it is already part of the song. In every gesture, in every glance, the infinite speaks, and the listener recognizes the voice as both beyond and within. There is no final boundary to cross, no distant heaven to reach, only the endless unfolding of presence in the here and now. To live the mystery is simply to be what has always been, the wave and the ocean, the breath and the breather, the timeless One shining through every passing moment. The movement from awakening to enduring transformation is subtle, like the quiet shift of seasons when one day the air simply feels different. After tasting the presence that underlies all things, the seeker begins to weave that awareness into every layer of life. It is not a sudden change of circumstance, but a deepening of vision. Ordinary tasks, walking through crowded streets, preparing a meal, listening to another's troubles, become opportunities to embody the unity once glimpsed in silent contemplation. The mystery is no longer an experience set apart. It becomes the very fabric of existence, as natural as light filling a room at dawn. In this living awareness, the heart grows spacious. Judgments that once came quickly soften into understanding. The world's many voices, even those in conflict, are heard as variations of a single melody. Where there was once a desire to convince or conquer, there arises instead a patient listening. The seeker understands that every soul is on its own journey toward recognition, guided by currents unseen. There is no need to force belief, for the truth flows like an underground river, finding its way to every heart in its own time. Relationships take on a new character. Friends and strangers alike are met as mirrors of the infinite. Each encounter a revelation of a different facet of the same jewel. Love expands beyond the bounds of personal attachment into a compassion that does not cling. This does not mean the absence of intimacy or affection. Rather, it is an intimacy rooted in freedom, a love that seeks the well-being of the other, without possession. Even conflict becomes an invitation to greater understanding, for beneath disagreement the seeker senses the same eternal presence. Service emerges as a natural expression of this vision, feeding the hungry, protecting the vulnerable, working for justice. These acts are no longer duties imposed from outside, but the spontaneous outpouring of a heart aligned with the source. The awakened one does not calculate reward or recognition. Action flows as water flows downhill, guided by the quiet certainty that to care for another is to honor the one who lives in all. In this way, the smallest gesture, a kind word, a shared loaf of bread, becomes a sacred offering. The inner life deepens alongside this outward compassion. Remembrance continues without effort, a steady pulse beneath thought and activity. Whether sitting in meditation or moving through the noise of daily tasks, the seeker feels the constant nearness of the infinite. Dreams may carry subtle insights, and moments of stillness reveal fresh layers of meaning in familiar experiences. Yet there is no clinging to visions or signs. The heart rests in a simplicity that needs no embellishment, content to dwell in the mystery without seeking to own it. Even challenges and losses are met with a different gaze. Suffering is not denied or minimized, but it is held within a larger horizon. Pain becomes a teacher, showing the transient nature of all forms and pointing back to the unchanging source. When grief arrives, it is welcomed as part of the same vast dance. When joy visits, it is received with gratitude, but not grasped. The seeker learns to move with the rhythm of life, like a reed bending with the wind, neither resisting nor collapsing, simply flowing with what is. In this stage, the distinction between the spiritual path and ordinary living fades almost completely. Work, rest, conversation, solitude, each is illuminated from within. The mystery that once seemed hidden behind veils of doctrine or ritual is recognized as the very substance of every moment. The seeker no longer asks where to find the divine, for every breath is an answer, every heartbeat a reminder. This is not an ending, but an ever-deepening journey, a continual unfolding of the same truth that has always been present, infinite and inexhaustible. The stillness of night gathers like a gentle tide, carrying every sound of the day into a vast hush that has no edge. The seeker stands at the meeting point of all journeys, where every path taken and every question asked dissolves into a single presence. Nothing needs to be grasped. Nothing needs to be named. The heart, once restless with searching, now rests in a quiet certainty deeper than thought. The mystery that seemed distant has revealed itself as the very breath moving in and out, the silent rhythm that has accompanied every step from the beginning. Memories rise like distant stars, each one a reminder of the countless faces and moments that shaped the long walk toward this recognition. Teachers, companions, strangers, the ordinary tasks of living, all were threads of the same design. Woven by an unseen hand, there is no sense of arrival, for there is nowhere to arrive. The source has always been here, closer than the pulse, wider than the sky. What once appeared as a sequence of separate events is now seen as a single unfolding, a dance of the infinite within the finite. In this awareness, gratitude flows without effort. Every breath is a blessing, every heartbeat a gift beyond measure. The earth beneath the feet, the wind on the skin, the faint glow of distant constellations, each carries the fragrance of the one. The mind no longer seeks explanations, for the experience itself is the explanation. Silence becomes the most eloquent prayer, and stillness the truest act of devotion. There is nothing to prove, nothing to defend, only the simple wonder of being. The seeker understands, at last, that the journey was never about leaving or arriving, but about awakening to what has always been present. The ocean and the wave are not two. The light and its colors are not divided. Life and death, joy and sorrow, presence and absence, all are movements of the same boundless reality. In this recognition, the heart finds a peace that cannot be taken, a freedom that cannot be lost. As dawn begins to soften the horizon, the world stirs again, full of voices and motion. Yet the stillness remains, unbroken, quietly shining through every sound and sight. The seeker steps forward, carrying no burden, claiming no special title, simply living as a witness to the eternal now. The mystery of Islam, whispered through every chapter of existence, continues without end, a song that began before time and will echo long after the stars have burned to silence.